Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone, welcome to our video. Me and my group will present our material that is about the role of ESP teacher. But before we start, let me introduce my group first. There are Nasra, Fatmi Febryanti, Nurfania Fadillah, Ica Sulistianti, Hadija Amalia, Ria Ayu Anggreani, and the last me, Tiara Rahmadani. So, we move to the first material, that is, what is the role of ESP teacher, that will be presented by Miss Nasra. Miss Nasra, time is yours.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Well, thanks for the moderator because has given to me as the opportunity to explain my material for the presentation today. Let me introduce myself. My name is Nasra. I am the first speaker. And on this opportunity, I will explain my material about the role of the English of specific purpose. There are important practical ways in which the work of the general English teacher and the English for specific purpose teacher differ, considering two of the most important differences. The one briefly and the other at the greater length. Firstly, it will be clear from the preceding chapter that the English for specific purpose teacher role is one of many parts. Addition to the normal function of a classroom teacher, the English for specific purpose teacher will have to deal with needs analysis, syllabus design, material reading or adaptation, and the evaluation. The second way in which English for specific purpose teaching different from general English teaching is that the great majority of English for specific purpose teachers have not been trained as such. They need, therefore, to orientate themselves to a new every month for which they have generally been ill-prepared. Focusing on three problems which have found consistently arise in the discussion with the teacher of the English for specific purpose. The first, the lack of an English for specific purpose orthodoxy to the prophet already made the guided. The second, the new realms of the knowledge the English for specific purpose teacher has to be coped with. And the third, the change in the status of English language teaching. Okay, that's all from me. I'm sorry if I make a mistake because I'm just human being. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you very much, Miss Nasra, for your explanation. And the next material will be presented by Miss Fatmi, that is about the lack of an orthodoxy. Miss Fatmi, time is yours.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thanks for the change that has given to me. My name is Fatmi Febryanti. My stamp book is 1902-242. Well, I would like to present my material that is about the lack of an orthodoxy. Well, in spite of its relatively brief existence, ESP has undergone a number of major shifts in orientation. These have come about largely because ESP has developed at a time when a fundamental revision of our view of language and learning has been taking place. Uh, in the early stage of ESP, there was no question of using authentic text. Writers such as A. G. Herbert, 1965, created their own text to highlight language features much in the same way as was done in general English. Allen and Widdowson, 1974, for example, defend the use of composed text in order to avoid syntactic complexity and to foreground features of language which have particular communicative value. Uh, Phillips and Shuttlesworth, 1978, on the other hand, support the use of the authentic text as a repository of natural language use and as the stimulus for a variety communication skills. This matter of authenticity is just one of the issues that continue to be debated among ESP practitioners. First of all, it is necessary to be clear what the term authentic really means. It usually carries the sense of taken from the target situation and therefore not originally constructed for language teaching purposes. Authenticity is not a characteristic of a text itself. It is a feature of a text in particular context. A text is a message from reader to assumed reader. The text therefore only assumes a value in the context of that knowledge, and that use a text can only be truly authentic. In other words, if the context for which it was originally written, there is therefore no intrinsic merit in an authentic text. What we have to do is once more to see the text as part of teaching or learning process. Well, next materials related to the lack of an orthodoxy, which will be presented by my friend. And that's all for me. I'm sorry if I make a mistake. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Miss Fatmi, for your explanation, and I will continue Miss Fatmi's explanation. Okay. You know, guys, that these are still included in the lack of an orthodoxy. So, different types of text will be required at different stage of a course or a subject, depending on what we want the text for. For example, the first, we want the learner or the student to realize how much information they can get from a text by the application of certain strategies. In this case, we might well want to use a target situation text to make the exercise more realistic. The second, we want to do a jigsaw reading task, such as in the second lesson in chapter 11 maybe. If we instead on using target situation text here, we could be searching forever to find the appropriate ones. In this case, it is the activity that is of greatest importance, and so the text can be construct to generate the best activity. The third, we want to illustrate a particular sentence pattern or discourse pattern. If we can find a target situation text that fits, we can use it. If not, it is not a great problem. Our purpose is to make appearance an underlying structure. A target situation text might be rather confusing because there are all sorts of other things in the text too. According to Allen and Widdowson, 1974. And the fourth, we want to illustrate the importance of layout as a clue to reading comprehension. The fifth, we want to increase our learner motivation by embracing the real-world application of the language. The importance of a text is not intrinsic to the text, but derive from the role the text has to play in the teaching or learning process. We can ask ourselves, what do I want the text to do? On that basis, the most appropriate text of the text can be selected. As the example for use or non-use of authentic text illustrate, ESP teacher or we will often have to orientate themselves to difficult problems with little or no guidance. There are no easily solution to this situation, but some methods that might be useful are the first, surface of the history and present state of ESP in our own or neighboring countries. The second, formatting of groups or ESP teachers, perhaps allied to any existing national organization for the promotion of ELT to further the support and development of ESP. The next, establishment of new newsletters and other form of publication for exchanging information and views about ESP in our country. The next, you can use provision of pre and in-service teacher. Training confusing on ESP issues. Such provision can take a variety of forms: workshop, seminar, short course, and etc. In short, ESP teachers cannot turn to linguistics and psychology in the hope of finding ready-made, straightforward answer to the problem that they will meet. Rather, they need to distill and synthesis from the range of options available, those which best suit the particular curriculum. To do so require an open mind, curiosity, and a degree of skepticism. ESP teachers need to arm ourselves with a sound knowledge of both theoretical and practical development in ELT in order to be able to make the range of decision we can call upon to make, and all ESP teachers are in effect pioneers who are helping to shape the world of ESP. That's all from me, and the next part or the next material will be presented by Miss Nurfania Fadillah. Miss Nurfania, time is yours.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I'm Nurfania Fadillah as the fourth presenter. So today I would like to explain my material about new realms of knowledge. Well, in addition to dealing with the uncertain values of ESP foreign countries, ESP teachers may also have to struggle to master languages and subject matter beyond the limits of the previous experience. Teachers who have been trained for teaching general English or for teaching literature may suddenly find themselves having to teach with a text that they know little or nothing about. So, in addition to having to orient themselves in a world that is constantly changing, ESP teachers may at the same time feel an inability to cope with it. This problem is best illustrated in questions of specialist knowledge and language. In short, do ESP teachers need to understand ESP subject matter? The answer to this question should be yes. We need to ask ourselves three questions. First question, does the ESP content need to be highly specialist? In register analysis shows there is little linguistic justification for having a highly specialist text. There is no clear relationship between sentence grammar and knowledge specialization. In special text, the structure of discourse may be denser and more formalist, but does not differ in kind from the less specialist material. There may be a heavier burden of specialist vocabulary, but this does not make it more difficult to understand. It may indeed be easier, because many such terms are used internationally. Second question, why do so many ESP teachers find it difficult to understand ESP subject matter? Usually, this is related to the preparation of the ESP teachers itself. For example, the use of ESP in education, so the teachers should have prepared teaching materials or lesson plans, one of which is syllabus. Group 4 has explained about syllabus applications and syllabus examples. I will provide a comparison between ESP teachers who teach using syllabus and those who don't. Previously, I will describe the uses and benefits of the syllabus itself. With the syllabus, the direction of teacher learning is more structured because it has been included in planning, and also the syllabus can be used as the basic for developing an assessment system. Thus, the teacher teaching program will be more focused. As for teachers who teach without syllabus, first, the time allocated feels long. Second, the material submitted is an iterative process. And the third, the teacher will appear not to master the material present. The fourth, students' trust in teachers is reduced. And the last, can undermine the authority of the teacher in the eyes of students. Well guys, that's all my material. I hope you understand about my explanation. Sorry if there are my mistakes because I'm just human being. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Miss Nurfania Fadillah, for your explanation. And the next presenter is Miss Ica Sulistianti. Miss Ica, time is yours.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thanks for the chance that given to me. But for the first, let me introduce myself. My name is Ica Sulistianti and my standbook is 1902100032. So here I will talk about my material, that is about what kind of knowledge is required of DSP teacher. But before move to the material, maybe any of you guys still confused what is DSP teacher? Well, almost always a teacher of general English who has unexpectedly found herself required to teach students with special needs. ESP teachers do not need to learn specialist subject knowledge. They just have to know three things only. First, a positive attitude towards DSP content. And the second is a knowledge of the fundamental principle of the subject area. And the third is an awareness of how much they probably already know. In other words, DSP teachers shouldn't become a teacher of the subject matter, but rather an interested student of the subject matter. Jadi, dengan kata lain, guru ESP tidak harus menjadi guru yang menguasai mata pelajaran, melainkan like the students that interest with the subject. So it can make the students also feel interest to the subject. One final point to note is that, as with learned needs, teachers' knowledge is not a static commodity. Many ESP teachers are surprised at how much knowledge of the subject matter they pick up by teaching the materials or talking to students. Not just about dominate the material, ESP teachers also must be able to setting the class so that students in the class can receive the subject matter well. One more important is the need to dispel the mystique of specialist knowledge and build of the ESP teachers' confidence in coming to terms with it. Okay, I think enough for me. Sorry if there are a mistake. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you very much, Miss Ica, for your explanation. And the next part will be presented by Miss Hadija Amalia, or usually we call Miss Amel. For Miss Amel, time is yours.
Thanks for the chance given to me. My name is Hadija Amalia, and in this opportunity, I would like to present my material. Okay, my material is about change in the status of English teaching. One of the ESP features in relation to general English is the English change from its own subject to the service industry for other specialties. It will lower the status of the teacher, or at least it looks into extents of the ESP teachers. According John 1981, mentioned there are 5 problem compromise master of the PAUD. The first is low priority in timetabling. The second is lack of personal of professional contact with the subject teacher. The third is lower status or grade than subject teacher, and the fourth is isolation from other teacher of English express similar work, and the last is lack of respect from students. This all seem to reflect the good decline in status, or at least the how self-esteem in the sense of ESP teachers. ESP teachers must be a negotiator as an additional role. They should work with sponsor or subject specification in charge of students' work or learning experience outside the ESP class. The most important of all is that such work is to be a two-way process. That is, subject specialists can help ESP teacher in learning more about the target situation of students, and at the same time ESP teacher can make more specialty subject to be the language problem faced by learners and ESP teachers. In ESP courses, there are two ways in which subjects have any influence on language content. The first is vocabulary. But even here, the difference is much less significant than expected. We can differentiate for types of vocabulary. The first is a structure. For example, is, this, only, and however. The second is general, like a table, run, dog, weather, and cows. And the next is subtechnical, for example, machine, spring, valve, and budget. And the last is technique, for example, earlifts, schistosome, fissure, and electrophoresis. Only the last category will show significant variations with the subject, but the variety is small. In May 1978, for example, found that in an extensive collection of scientific and technical writing, technical vocabulary only covers 9% of the total lexic range. In addition, this technical vocabulary is much less commonly used than non-technical. This technical term also tend to cause that least problem to students. The term is often used internationally or can be done from knowledge of the subject matter and the general word truth. Okay, I think enough from me, and thank you.
Thank you, Miss Amel, for your explanation. And the next presenter is Miss Ria Ayu Anggreani. Miss Ria, time is yours.
Thank you for the opportunity that has been given. On this occasion, I will present the material, which is a continuation of the material presented by Andi Hadija Amalia. Okay, go straight to part B. Certain subject. Certain subject will be easier to teach if the subject is studied in a more common form. But in terms of language contents, there is little justification for a subject-specific approach to ESP, and wanting for the ESP teacher to know that language needs a very little with subject. So, for dealing with learners that often demand subject-specific tasks, we can try to work out with this strategy. The first step is to try and establish groupings along broad subject lines like physical science, medical and biological science, and etc. The second is avoid highly specific materials and try to give everyone's specialism some chance. In this way, we might not please everyone all the time, but at least we won't displease anyone all the time. Next is look for topics which give access to a number of different specialist areas. Take pumps as a simple example, like pumps are found in the body like your heart, in houses like central heating system, in engines like petrol pumps, in hospital like peristaltic pumps in heart-lung machines, and etc. Using topic like this, learners can apply the ideas and language of a core text to their own specialist field. Next is make learners aware of the lack of specificity of their needs. Get them to discover it for themselves by doing their own language analysis. In this way, they should be able to see for themselves that the language is not significantly different. And the last is, if people are having fun, they are far less likely to complain. Making the methodology for interactive and enjoyable can be a valuable weapon in countering demands for subject-specific ASP. Okay, in a conclusion, then there is little justification for having very specific materials, but learners will still demand them. Coping with this situation will be greatly eased by first of all trying to understand why learners demand such materials, then trying to negotiate a compromise, making learners more aware of their real needs and using an enjoyable methodology to divert attention from areas of possible conflict. I think enough and thank you.
Thank you, Miss Ria, for the great explanation. And the last part of this video is conclusion that will be presented by Miss Nasra. Miss Nasra, time is yours.
Oke, terima kasih kepada moderator atas kesempatannya. Adapun kesimpulan materi dari kelompok kami yaitu di mana pada bab terakhir ini kami telah membahas beberapa fitur yang membedakan peran guru English for Specific Purpose dari peran guru bahasa Inggris umum. Kami telah menunjukkan dengan contoh bagaimana dalam pendekatan yang berpusat pada pembelajaran itu penting untuk menyeimbangkan semua faktor yang terlibat dalam proses belajar mengajar. Pendekatan English for Specific Purpose yang telah kita rujuk dalam buku ini ada 3, yaitu yang pertama pendekatan yang berpusat pada bahasa, yang kedua pendekatan yang berpusat pada keterampilan, dan yang ketiga pendekatan yang berpusat pada pembelajaran masing-masing. Kami menyarankan kepada Anda untuk memutuskan pelatihan mana dan pendekatan mana yang paling berhasil. Okay, that's all. The conclusion, I return to the moderator.
Thank you, Miss Nasra. So, that's all from our group. We really hope that you guys will understand what did we explain. And if you have any question regarding our topic, you can ask our group directly in the next meeting. We are so sorry if still there are any mistakes maybe. And yeah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you.